What keeps a woman in a relationship she knows is hurting her? In this episode, Nikki Allen shares the painful truth about toxic love, trauma bonds, abuse, and the long road back to self worth. Have you ever felt something was wrong but couldn't explain it? Like the person you love was slowly chipping away at your sense of self?
We've been there. Different marriages, but to the same man, with the same toxic pattern. But God was still working.
We're Lizzie and Dina, women of faith, survivors, and truth tellers.
Surviving toxic relationships is for any woman stuck in confusion, healing after betrayal, or searching for her voice again.
You are not crazy.
You are deeply loved. Welcome everybody today to Surviving Toxic Relationships. We have a wonderful guest, Nikki Allen. She is the author of Loved You, Hated You, a bold and emotionally charged novel. It's inspired by real-life heartbreak. What began in her life as a song then evolved into a screenplay and then became a gripping work of fiction that explores betrayal, identity loss, and the power of choosing yourself. Nikki writes with raw honesty and cinematic intensity. And today she's here to talk about the creative process, emotional healing, and the truths that fiction can reveal. So please welcome Nikki Allen. So Nikki, yay! Can't wait to hear your story because as we know that this story was inspired by real life events and obviously not just a story. So take it away. Tell us all about you and how you got to this place.
Oh, that's a loaded question, but I'm going to have to condense that. We'll be here forever. But, when I was 20, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue my career. 11 months after I got here, my mom passed away. And so I had never been to LA before, so I didn't have any friends, no family here. I did have a work friend, but I met this guy through my cousin, and I thought he was the one. Don't we always think they're the one when we're in our 20s? He was the one. And it started off really great, but then, talking down to me started. But what really did it, he had this best friend that he was just very jealous of our relationship. And he would 20-year-olds, you're basically still out of high school. Sorry, 20-year-olds, but you are, so it's still that mentality. And he would try to do things to break us up. But that relationship being talked down to, we've had, I'll say 3 or 4 physical fights, and I call them fights because I hit back. So I didn't get beat up, but we beat each other up. He started it. But
You're like, no, you didn't.
do you know
We
that was the
appreciate your
name of my other
transparency.
book?
No, That's so weird.
That was about my ex-husband.
No, that's so weird. Okay, well, okay.
That's why when you said that, I'm like, wait, did I tell you about that? Yeah, but oh no, you didn't. And we were fighting, and it just got to the point where I needed to figure out why I was allowing this to happen, because I didn't grow up in a household where folks were fighting. I never heard my parents even yell at each other. They never had an argument. It wasn't a good relationship, but whatever they had going on, we didn't see it. So that wasn't it. And I just started doing what I call soul surgery to figure out why. And the initial why was, well, here I was 20 years old, 21. I didn't have a mom. I had no support. And so this was the guy, this was the support that I had. He was the only one there supporting me, because when he was good, he was great. But when he wasn't, it was just the opposite of that. So, why am I doing this? So this guy was my savior, if you will, to help me through this. But then that relationship ended after 7 years, but then because he's still in my life, believe it or not, we are still friends. He texted me just 2 weeks ago. We're way more mature now, and we can have these conversations, but he's still in my life.
Wow.
And if I tell you the nuances as to why, that'll freak you out because it's kind of creepy. But I'm in an amazing relationship now of 7 years. At this point, I had to go, okay, but why is this guy still in my life? Even though we don't talk every day, it's like once a year or once every other year, but he's still there, right? Why? So I did more soul surgery, and I just realized over the years, well, I had daddy issues, things that I didn't really know were issues, because sometimes when you grow up in a household, dysfunction is normal, right? So I didn't even understand that the stuff my daddy was doing was quite dysfunctional. And this guy had so many of my dad's traits, it wasn't funny. So it just took a lot of deep diving, soul searching to figure out why. And then to put those boundaries up to go, no, it won't happen again, because my ex husband had some of the same traits as my father. Totally different from this guy, but it was like half and half. Like I just put my dad together with those two men, right? And I just had to go, okay, why? I'm so fortunate that this relationship I'm in now, this guy resembles nothing of my dad. And the hard part in this relationship is having a relationship that you have no guidance for, right? Because how do you love somebody when love look differently than what this guy is giving? So that's where I am right now.
Yeah, healthy love is completely different. The amount of intensity and work you have to put into a toxic relationship, and then you get into a healthy relationship, and then you can even say like to yourself, something's wrong, something's wrong, or even like for me, when I met my current husband, who I adore, I mean, I just thought he's too good, things are too easy, like he's too perfect. Definitely red flags, right? I mean, I've been with him for, over a decade, but it's like, I feel like your nervous system just doesn't know how to be with someone who isn't crazy. And then you as a person don't know how to, you're not trying to, yeah, exactly. You're not trying to adapt. Yes.
And that is so true. And like with my guy now, it's like for me, I didn't even realize it, but I was so guarded. Like I'm totally with him, but he doesn't totally have all of me, right? Because that would mean I'd have to be vulnerable like I was in that
Yeah.
last relationship.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that because you could hurt me, you could floor me. I don't want to feel that again. But as of late, I finally said, final answer, I'm all in. And so where I am with that relationship now is my knees are shaking.
Yeah. Well, especially when you really, really, really like them or love them, it's
What you said.
terrifying. It's
Beyond
terrifying.
terrifying.
It
Beyond
is.
terrifying. Like I have taken up a new hobby to try to calm my nerves. I'm painting now. I can't paint, but
Gosh, you took up a hobby that you're bad at.
I did.
Okay, I have never heard anybody say that before.
You've
That's
never
just,
met
What a
Nikki
nice way to
before.
put it, Dina. You
I come
picked up
with
a
it.
hobby that you're terrible at.
I think it's what she said, which is hilarious. But hey, if it
Yeah,
does
I'm
the
totally
job.
terrible at it. It started because my daughter was like, "Mom, let's go do a paint and sip," and I'm like, I can't. I can't draw stick figures. I really can't. Like my perception is so off. But I thought it would be fun. It's great mother daughter time, and let's just do it. Why not? So I got there and the guy was showing us how. I started liking it and I didn't do too bad. And so then my daughter was like, "Mom, you should try YouTube stuff." So I have a nonprofit, and so I have all this like canvases and paint and stuff. So I took a canvas and some paint, and I was like, "Well, I found a YouTube video," and I was like, "Okay, I'll try it." I'm getting better though now, but it's so hilarious. I show them to my daughter, and she goes, "Oh my god, Mom, that is so good!" But then I show her the original, and we just crack up because it's nothing what it was supposed to be.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. What about you, Lizzie? Have you ever done those paint and sips? What kind
Yes.
of painter are you?
Well, I actually have one up on my wall right now, and I wouldn't say it's a beautiful painting. But it's like, first of all, those are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You can really stink at it,
Yes.
but it's like a memory, an event, not just the product. In fact, the product is probably second rate,
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
yeah.
Mine wouldn't even belong on a wall. There's
Listen,
no way.
In fact,
that's
I'm
what you
turning
say
and looking
now.
at it right now.
It's like, Mom, you need like a whole new wall. I've been putting them on the wall. They're around the baseboard. Look, I've been painting every day for the last 7 days. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Hey,
It may
you
be
know
just an
what?
outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's therapeutic. Good for you. I mean, it's a healthy therapeutic too. I mean, unless your sipping is more than your painting.
Yeah, right. No, not doing that because then I wouldn't be able
Okay.
to paint.
So I'm like, otherwise it may not be the healthiest outlet, but yeah. Oh my goodness, I digress. Okay, this is
Yeah,
hilarious,
we did.
Nikki.
Sorry.
So no, that was fun. So how did you get from, these toxic relationships? How did you go from that to a song and a screenplay and your book? I Loved You, I Hated You. Tell us how you kind of went into that transition? That's really
Oh,
interesting.
I'm already a singer. I was working on my first album, and that song, I had written that probably a few years before the album came out. But the producer of it, he was like, "Yeah, loved you, hated you." I'm like, "That's the name of that song." And so I wrote it based on, if you hear the lyrics, it's all about him. And it's really, I loved you, I hated you, and now I'm releasing you. Been there with you before, not gonna do it anymore because I got so much more in store for me, and that was a little liberating for me. However, just so you know, I don't write when I'm in the stuff. I have to write once it's over, in hindsight. So I wrote it after that relationship. When the album came out and I put it on there and I'm listening to it, I just saw characters. I'm just very visual, and I saw these characters. I saw Gabby, I saw Goff, I saw Bobby, and I was like, wouldn't it be beautiful if we had a savior, right? Because don't we all, when we're in bad relationships, you see some people walking, they look so happy, and you're just longing for that, right? So I kind of incorporated that in this actual story because it didn't happen. Nobody came to save me. There was no guy knocking on my door like, you don't need to be with that guy, I'm the one. But that was a girl's fantasy, so I put that in the book. But then in the screenplay, but as I was developing it, I wanted to keep the real emotions behind why she was staying, because so many times, and you know this, why did you stay? Why did you stay? You had so many times to get out. He wasn't holding you hostage. All you had to do was walk out of the door. But he is holding me hostage emotionally. And so I really kind of wanted to dive into that in the book, in the movie. And there is a scene in chapter 10, actually, where the guy who is really interested in her asks, why? I'm not understanding. You're so beautiful. You're so this. Why are you still there? And so there's a whole speech behind that. And I just hope that people really get that so they can stop being insensitive, because it is a little insensitive when you say, why? Well, why are you staying there? I mean, oh my God, it's not good for you. Yes, we know. But we are held hostage by our emotions, our fears, and sometimes it could be dangerous to leave. You just never know. But that was the premise of writing the initial screenplay. Now, how it turned into a book was just kind of funny, because I knew I wanted to write a book. I took a boot camp course with Hay House. And then after I took it, they called me and like, do you have a book? I'm like, huh? You don't want to say no when you get those kind of impromptu calls. And so I was like, yeah. So I went and turned the screenplay into a book. That's all.
That sounds kind of meant to be to me.
And I agree, because the only reason why I even thought of that years ago, when I had actually written the screenplay, a friend of mine came and she was sitting at my kitchen table reading it. She couldn't put it down and she goes, you should make this a book. And at the time, I'm like, it's not a book, it's a screenplay. I'm a filmmaker. Like, no. But when that came, I literally thought of her and was like, yeah, I'm going to turn it into a book. So yeah, that's what happened. But again, that's me being backwards. See, you don't hear things from me. Most people start with the book first and then the movie. No, I did it the other way around. So it's probably going to be book, then movie, like it should be.
Yeah, yeah. I've never seen it the other way around, but I think that's great. I love your quirkiness. It makes it so much fun,
Yeah.
and also that you're just kind of following your own path.
Yeah,
So,
been me my whole life.
yeah,
My own
obviously.
tune.
Yeah, you're going to be just uniquely yourself, which is great, especially coming out of these relationships. Sometimes we really lose who we are and we have a very hard time being who we are or even knowing who we are, but you seem to have a really good grip on who you are, which is
I do
wonderful,
now.
Nikki.
I do now,
Yeah.
but like I said, I'm in a good relationship, and so I'm learning new things about me.
Mhm.
I'm also learning that we had an incident, and this, my God, we've never had an argument. We don't fight. That's not to say we don't disagree. We flow. We know how to work it out. But we had an incident which proved to me that I'm not even 100% healed from that one relationship 30 years ago. He's a coach and he was coaching a game, and he called me because one of the kids needed something ordered, but the energy was intense. You could hear everybody screaming, and so he's intense, and I'm over here chilling. And he's like, I need you to order. I need it now. Okay, do it now. And I know what he meant, but for some reason, my brain, it literally started like, I was like, wait, is it this guy or is it this guy? Like, those emotions came back, and I got so quiet. And he goes, please? I guess I was so quiet. I was just like, I was trying to process the scene, because was this my new guy or my old guy? Then I had this, is he turning out like him after I just said, okay, I'm giving myself totally to this guy and now he's really like that guy? Like I went through all of this. And so when he came over, he was like, so you want to explain the attitude? And what I loved about him was when I started to tell him, tears just came. Where did that even come from? And I was like, when you said that, that was like the guy when he was in it. And he just grabbed me and hugged me. And I wasn't even expecting that. And he was like, I am so sorry. I would never talk to you like that. And then I was just like, mush. But I'm still learning. And I think it's just a long process. Do we ever get completely healed from it? I don't know. I am healed. I'm able to give to my guy, but that was clearly a trigger, clearly.
Well, and sometimes those triggers are really good to happen in waves because it means that we still have the wounds, but yet it goes to show too that we look at it differently. Whereas, and I think if we had to deal with all of those wounds at once in every scenario, we probably would be even a hotter mess. But
Definitely.
I think that natural progression in relationships, especially a healthy one, is healthy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
normal.
I think so too. And I'm glad we had that because it showed me that it didn't scare him off. It didn't go, okay, she's psycho. Because I probably sounded like it, like, oh my God, you talk to me great. And I knew what he meant, but for some reason, it just triggered that old stuff. But it was so good at how he responded. So much. I was shocked. I'm still shocked. I'm floored. But I'm like, damn, this guy loves me.
Oh my gosh, you got a good one because that's exactly how it should be. I mean, it shouldn't be like, oh, this girl's got baggage, like she's a mess. Like what was I thinking? Which I was always afraid that my current husband will also say that because I was with mine and Lizzie's shared ex for 27 years, and I came into that relationship with a lot of baggage, and I was so worried that he would like tuck tail and run. I was completely dysregulated. I was constantly questioning anything he did. Was this just something a normal guy does? Do I need to worry? And I would have to go to him and ask him if everything was okay, just like you did, except that you just had that reaction. But I was being triggered left and right by just normal innocent things. Good for you. It sounds like he handled it the right way and he's in it for the long haul and that you've got a good one, which is wonderful. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lizzie, I was going to have another question, but I didn't want to hog all the questions. Did you have anything? Okay.
No,
so Nikki,
you can tell in this relationship who's the extrovert and
yeah, well, slightly obvious. I try not to be a ball hog too. But anyway, so what I was going to ask you, Nikki, when you were talking about when people keep questioning, like, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just leave? What's the big deal? And especially sometimes when you're looking at the fact that you were in 2 relationships, right?
Well, I left the second one.
What's that?
My ex-husband, no, that lasted less than a month. Though I was out of that. Really.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah, no, that was done. Because I saw some stuff, and we never got the oh no he didn't was the stuff he was doing after we got married. That's a whole different story. He was one way before we got married.
Yep.
We got married on a Sunday. Wednesday, I didn't know who he was. So that's
man, how many times have we heard that story, Lizzie, right? So many times. As soon as that ring is on your finger or you've moved in, or you're committed or you're pregnant, it's like, man, okay, there you go. The mask comes off.
And then he was like, let's get married. And then I'm telling you, we got married Christmas Eve. It was a Sunday. I'll remember it like it was yesterday. And that Wednesday I woke up because I was pregnant. I was like, I need to eat. And he was like, well, what do you want me to do about that? And I was just like, oh, I divorced him so fast. It wasn't even funny because I'm like, one thing that bad relationship taught me was to see the BS coming. And although I did marry that guy, he was decent when we were together. But once we said I do, he switched. And I think he thought I didn't really believe in divorce. I was pregnant. I think he thought she's not going anywhere, and he tried to take advantage of that. But no, I was out of there so quickly. Yeah, no.
Well, good for you. That's amazing.
Let me off on your question, but I want to clear.
Oh, no.
It happened one time.
That's good. No, that's good. Lizzie did the same thing. Lizzie lived and learned with our shared ex. She walked out a lot quicker than I did. So it really is, but it is confusing when you're young too, and you're with this person. And then if you have kids with them, oh my gosh, it just adds a whole nother layer.
Mm-hmm.
But with people saying, why don't you leave? What did keep you? Because I know there are women out there that also kind of beat themselves up and say, why don't I just leave? Like, why? What's wrong with me? Like, am I weak? Am I, codependent? Am I just hopeless? Like, why am I staying in this relationship where everybody's telling me it's bad and I know it's bad, but I go back? And they really have a hard time with that question. So what did you feel and what could you say to the ladies out there that are feeling that way?
I think for a lot of us, it's we love the guy because we see that good part in them when they're doing those good things. And we're women, we hold on to that. And we're also intuitive women, women in general. So we know that you are better than that. We can see it, right? And we hold and you show it to us, and we're gonna fix you. We're gonna make sure that this is who you show us all the time, not that bad person. And I think that's where the confusion lies, because there is good in there. There is this wonderful person in there. There is somebody worth it in there. But right now, they're not showing us that. That is who they are when they want to be, when it benefits them. And so I want to tell women, give yourself some grace, because what you're experiencing is actually normal. We're just nurturers and lovers anyway. But what we have to start doing is protecting ourselves and putting up those boundaries and saying, this is what I will not allow, because people only do to you what you allow them to do. And as soon as you put up that nope, not having it from day one, they'll either walk or stay, because they'll know she's not dealing with that. So give yourself some grace, but that is why. And then the other component, who wants to be lonely? Nobody wants to be lonely. Lonely is just not a good word, right? I'm okay with being by myself now, but I didn't want to be lonely. I remember going, after we broke up, I went to some restaurant by myself, and I'm sitting there looking at all these older couples. They were like old, and I'm crying, that'll never be us. That'll never be us. And now I'm like, thank God that will never be us. But it's like, especially when you're younger, you just think that's it. My daughter she'll be 26 in a few weeks, and she's single, and I'm so proud of her. And I hope that some of what I've told her, because I'm an open book with my children, they know everything about my relationships. And I'm hoping that what I've said to her really stuck out, because she is not in a rush to be in a relationship. She's been in some bad ones, and she's like, no, mom, you're right. I think 2026 I'll be by myself and get me together. And that's really what it is. When you get you together, have that self-love, because that's really what it is. When you really are in love with yourself, you won't take anything that comes to you. And that's really the key, is self-love. So she's on this self-love journey, and she's like, nope, nope, nope. And I'm like, yes, that's how we do it. So it's just finding that self-love, loving yourself so much that you won't accept it. But that's a journey and a process in itself. It's like we have a lot of work to do, ladies, but we can do it.
Well, what helped you get there? Because it is a tough process, especially if you're in a relationship where you've been made to feel like you're not lovable, or you've been made to feel like you're not worthy. So how did you get there?
Let me tell you, I've been out of that relationship for 30 years, right? But it's taken up until now where I can literally say I love myself. It was just work. I mean, just a lot of work, and believing that I am worthy. I don't, my faith, of course, is one of the main things that I really held on to. Actually, that is probably the component, is just my faith, and knowing my mother's in heaven going, I didn't raise you like that, because my mother was very much into, you are beautiful, you are worthy, you can do anything you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. Like anything positive, she was about that. So how did I let myself get shrunken like this, if that's the word? But you know what I mean? And so just self-reflecting and self-love. And then I started trying this exercise, because I didn't realize I hadn't looked in a mirror in years, like looked in the mirror in years, because I didn't like what I saw. And so I started trying to just look at myself and say, you're beautiful, I love you. And I remember the first few times it was like, you're beautiful, I love you. It was hard, Then I tried kiss myself. I could not do it. It sounds so simple, but when you're having to face yourself and say you love you no matter what, do that in the mirror and see. It's not easy, but I kept doing it because anything you practice long enough, it'll become a fact. So now I'm just totally in love with myself.
You know what, too? I have a suspicion that some of your accomplishments probably also helped reinforce, that you could do big things when you could conquer big things. I mean, that helped build your confidence too.
I probably will have to say no because
Okay.
so insecure, just insecure
Mm.
about everything. If someone didn't pick up my project or didn't like it, then my God, there's something wrong. It's terrible. It just, my self worth and my self esteem was so low, even with the projects, as big as they were or weren't, I didn't see it that way. It's just
Mm.
all like, it was for me, so it's not that great, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Okay. So it wasn't like that was used to build up that self love. That was
Mm-mm,
that you just did it in your current state, no matter what, because you just needed
mm-mm.
to do it, but it didn't necessarily take you there. Okay.
No, and it
That's
was
good to
really.
know.
I hear my mom all the time in my head. Listen, she used to give me all these little cards of affirmations and positive sayings. So I hear her like, "Come on, Nikki, I didn't teach you that. You were raised better than that. You're not that." I was hearing that in prayer, and that is what I just finally had to just go. I just started going in that mirror. That's the first thing I remember doing is going in that mirror and looking at myself, and I hated it. I hated it. I really did. And but I just kept going because I'm determined. Now that's one thing. I trained for the Olympics. I'm very disciplined. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. I just have that. So it's like, no, you're gonna look in this mirror until you know that you're beautiful and you are worthy. And it was just constant. And so then one day I was like, "You're beautiful," and I was like, "Wait, I didn't even turn away." I'm like, "Okay, I like me now. Okay, you're okay, Nikki." High five.
Oh, I love that. That actually is a method of helping yourself get over all that self-hatred because especially as women, we do look in the mirror and we see every little tiny flaw and every little ugly bump or whatever when you get our age, wrinkles and all the things. But it's like I remember hating myself and the way I looked when I was 16 and I was, tiny,
Right.
16-year-old. Well, when does that end? Okay, it doesn't end. Am I going to get younger? No.
Mm-mm.
Like, so you're right. It's like self-love is not because you looked in the mirror and you got it all together and you're perfect. It is really so much deeper than that. So I love that. That's a great way to actually get going and get out of that terrible destructive pattern of
Yeah. You got to
can't even
start
look at
with
yourself.
you. You got to start with you,
Yeah.
and like I said, I didn't even realize that I had stopped looking in the mirror, even to get dressed in the morning. It was just like, and my ex husband, it was for the short amount of time that we were married, he did such a number on my family. Like, I really hated myself. And I didn't realize that I hated myself, but he had left us destitute. We were in a homeless shelter. Like, he did us in. And I dealt with the first emotion of hatred that I had never hated anybody in my life. So I was hating him, but I realized I was also hating me for allowing him to do what he did. And so once had to work, it was a long process to forgive him, and it's still a process every day to forgive him. And he's dead now, and I still have to. Yeah, he dropped dead.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think it's a process it's I think that is actually tied into forgiving ourselves for the
absolutely.
pain that we may have put people that we love deeply into. I think that's what I've observed
Mhm.
as far as for all of us. I think
Yeah.
that's been the times when I felt that way.
Yeah. So forgiving myself, I had to forgive the first guy that this whole book is about. I didn't even realize it was so crazy. Actually, this happened to me maybe a week ago that I realized that I really examined the relationship. And then I got mad at myself because here I am now 30 years looking at it like, what in the hell were you thinking? Like, if I could talk to little younger Nikki, I would slap the mess out of me. You know better than that. But I was sitting there thinking of the stuff that he had done and said, and it's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But that's where I was at that time. It wouldn't happen today. It wouldn't work out for anybody.
Well, and also, these narcs, I mean, they are good. They know how to come into your life and be all the things that you want and that you've always wanted
Mm-hmm.
and to pretend, they just know how to do that. So then when they get you wrapped around their finger, well, then now all the crazy ups and crazy downs and the push and the pull and the I love you, I hate you kind of things, and then you become trauma bonded. And then by then, you don't know which end is up at that point. And I so agree with you. You look at that person and you see who you think they really are, that people are starting to say, this is not a good person. Like, these habits and these patterns are destructive. But you really feel that maybe why that he's that way. Maybe he had a bad childhood. Maybe you're mothering him, because that's really the only way that you can be in this relationship. You're certainly not getting, a human couple dynamic that's healthy where you're both being nurtured. So you're being the mother now, and you're, going to save him. And I know with my ex, like, he wanted me to do that. He was more than happy for me to take the role of, I just see that you're hurting and you're flawed and you've got all these things, and nobody else understands you like I do. And nobody understands that when you love me and when you are good and when you are kind, you're so good and you're so kind and you don't mean to do it.
Right.
Oh my goodness. It just gets
Yeah.
so convoluted.
It does.
So yeah,
It does.
girl, hats off to you.
Listen,
So
let me tell you one example really quickly. So I want to address one thing you said about how it's their childhood. Ironically, I told you this guy and my ex-husband were both sides of my dad, but these two men were both adopted. Not saying anything's wrong with being adopted, but what I know their stories as to why they were adopted. And if you knew that, you'd be like, oh my God, that's so terrible. So they're living with this. And that is what you go, he didn't have his real mom and she did this. And so you make those excuses. So I wanted to agree with you on that. But this is what happened to me. I had told his parents something he had done to me, and he got really mad, and he was pissed off because they adopted him. He tried to be that perfect son for them. That was his own emotional stuff that he was dealing with. So they never knew any of the terrible things he was doing. He was a straight A student. He worked hard. He had his own car, his own money. Like, he was doing all the things. So they didn't know this monstrous personality side of him. So when I told them that, they addressed him, and his sister calls me and she goes, I need you to get out of the house. He's coming after you with a gun. So I'm like, I got out of the house. I drove down the street to the 7-Eleven where they had a payphone and called the police. And the police came. I saw them. I drove, and he was right behind me, and then the police were right behind him. So we pull up to my house. They get out, guns blazing. Me. What? But that's like,
so common, so common, so
don't
common.
hurt him. Don't take him. And they told me they didn't do anything because they didn't see a gun outward, but they believed that he had one, but they couldn't search his car, blah blah. And they advised me to leave the house, and I didn't. But I think about that, like, I was just like, no, don't hurt him. Don't take him to jail. I love him. I need him. That's my guy. Yeah, so he's going to kill me. Was he really, though? Because he loves me, And it's like, my work friend, I told you, the one friend that I had was like, are you serious right now? Like, I was like, yeah, I got to take him. She was like, they should have taken his ass. And I'm like, no. And it's just, it's so sad. But
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing how we try to enable and cover them up our own way because we're afraid of losing them. I think it's really innocent, and we all look back going, why did I do that? Why didn't I just let the police take him? Because I think that was my first husband. I'm like, why didn't I let them take him to jail? But I was so scared. I was pregnant with my first child, and what he did was awful, and I wanted to protect him. But I ended up in a very abusive relationship that I should have said, yeah, take him. But that's hindsight. I think that's why some of us share our stories, because if we help one other person not to be that particular person to cover up somebody
at that time,
that maybe they'll like reflect and go, I've heard things about this. Maybe I need to let the police do their thing and back off. But it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of strings tied in there. And until you've been there and you've walked in those shoes, you have no idea.
Correct.
None.
And you hear it all the time in domestic violence situations where the woman even calls the police herself. He's beating me up. Or maybe he did beat her up. She's covered in bruises, her lips bleeding, everything. And I know domestic violence can go both ways. This is definitely not a gender thing at all. But anybody can be sucked into these relationships, male or female. And the police come to get them, and then you're crying and begging not to take them, even though you've been beaten up. And it's just,
That had
it's
that one too. We got into it. He hit me. I hit him. We got so crazy with it that his neighbors called the police. I get to the door. I'm all bruised up and banged up. And they're like, "Oh my God, ma'am. First of all, you need to go to the hospital." And they're writing the report. And he comes to the door. And he's all bruised up and mangled. And they're like, So the cop asked us both, "Do you guys want to press charges against each other?" And we're like, "Hell yeah." And they're like, "You're both going to jail." And we're like, "Hell no." Yeah, yeah, scratch that. So, but yeah, I mean, I did, at that moment, would I really allow them to take him to jail? I don't think so. And I was kind of glad when we both were like, no, we don't. So we just went to the hospital because we both needed medical assistance and cussed each other out in the ER. It was crazy.
Oh my goodness, girl.
That's the
You
first
were
I've heard
definitely
that.
trauma bonded. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Reactive abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, reactive abuse. That's true. Reactive abuse is you're beating the tar out of them because they beat the tar out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
he was choking me with the lamp cord.
oh my gosh.
He straddled my lap, and then he was beating me like this. And then he took the lamp cord and started trying to wrap it around my neck. Then I started wrapping it around his neck. I mean, it was crazy, but that was the only way to get him
My
off. He's built like a linebacker, and how else was
wow.
I fighting him was not helping. And I remember when the paramedics came and looked in my eyes with a flashlight, they were like, "You took a lot of beatings to the head. You got to go to the hospital." Like, it was crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. My goodness. Well, I'm glad you got out of that safely.
All right.
So, wrapping it up, where can we find your book, your screenplay, your song? Where can we find this?
NikkiAllen.com. So simple.
NikkiAllen.com. Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, we'll definitely have the link on our podcast and on our YouTube channel as well with your contact info. And I really encourage anybody out there, check her out. Check out her song. Check out her screenplay. Is it a full-on play now?
So screenplay is out of the picture because hopefully after the book, we're going to try to actually make it a movie again. So
Okay. Okay. Is there a production company that you're working with, or?
So I have my own production company, but so it was actually in a production development deal right before COVID. And then COVID hit and everything just went away. After, we'll just see how I'm just going with the flow right now. That's all.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the best way to go.
Yeah. I don't want to make any promises because I'm releasing a new song in the next few weeks and I'm about to shoot my own music video. So I can't worry about a movie right now.
Wow, good for you. Well, you know what? You have plenty of time. You have plenty of time, and it'll come out at the exact right time. And
Absolutely.
we got to keep up with you because you got some big things coming. So very exciting, very exciting. Thank you so much, Nikki, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you both.
And of course, it was fun. And I'm so happy that you found joy and love in a healthy relationship. That's wonderful. You obviously deserve it. And we wish the very, very best, but we will keep up with you to see how you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. If this conversation encouraged you, please share this episode with someone who may need hope, clarity, or language for what they have lived through. And if Nikki's story resonated with you, be sure to check out her book, Loved You, Hated You, at NikkiAllen.com. Don't forget to subscribe to Surviving Toxic Relationships for more honest conversations about toxic dynamics, healing, boundaries, faith, and recovery. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is often where healing begins. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode today. And remember, you are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are deeply, deeply loved. Thank you and have a wonderful day.